Welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of my 3-part video series showing you how to crochet a solid granny square blanket using a tight join as you go method and finishing with a simple but eye-catching border. In my first video, I showed you how to crochet the solid granny square. I've included a link to that video in my description box below. There are multiple ways to join as you go, but today I'll be showing you how to do a tight join, which makes a very secure join without any gaps. It has a really nice effect and looks similar to a twisted cord along the borders of your individual squares. It might seem a little fiddly and time-consuming at first, but once you are comfortable with it, it goes pretty quickly. So let's take a look at how to do the tight join as you go method. Complete your first granny square any size that you want. Mine is 3 rounds. Work your next granny square, but only complete the first side of your final round. You can see I'm at the chain 2 corner space. So I've got my 2 double crochets. I'm going to chain 1, lift up on that hook, and I want to connect it to my first granny square. You can join it to any chain 2 space of the first square. Insert your hook into the chain 2 space of the first square from front to back. Put the loop back on your hook and tighten it up and pull that through the chain 2 space of your second square. Now we complete the second chain of our chain 2 space. We need to complete the corner of our working square. So double crochet into the chain 2 space, lift up on the hook, and find the matching stitch on your first granny square. Insert the hook in the top 2 loops of that stitch, put the loop back on your hook and tighten it up, and pull it through the stitch of the first granny square. Complete the second double crochet of your chain 2 space on the second square, pull up on the loop, find the matching stitch of the first square, insert the hook front to back, put the loop back on your hook and tighten it, and pull it through the stitch of the first square. Now you'll do that all the way up the side. So find that very first stitch of the side of your second square, insert the hook, and do a double crochet. Pull up on the loop, find the coordinating stitch of your first granny square, insert the hook front to back, put the loop back on your hook and tighten it up, and pull it through the stitch of your first square. Basically, you're crocheting the side of your granny square just as you normally would, but after each stitch, you're going to pull up on that loop and join it to the coordinating stitch of your first square. Like I mentioned earlier, it can get a little fiddly. Holding on to the 2 squares while you're stitching can be a little awkward at first, but once you find a position that you're comfortable with and you've done a few, you'll catch on in no time and this will go really quickly. This is definitely something you have to pay attention to. I'm usually crocheting as I watch TV, and I had to undo my work several times because my stitches didn't line up. It's really easy to miss that first stitch of the side after you've done your first chain 2 corner space, so just be careful, take your time, and make sure that you're working in the coordinating stitch of both squares as you go. I'm at the last stitch of the side, so I complete a double crochet and make sure I'm at the last side stitch of the first square before the corner stitches. Insert my hook into that stitch, put the loop on the hook and pull it through the stitch. Here are my 2 corner double crochets from the first square. So I want to build my corner in the working square, so double crochet, pull up on the loop, insert your hook into the top 2 loops of the coordinating stitch of the first square, put the loop on the hook, pull it through, do that one more time, double crochet into the working square, pull up on the loop and remove the hook, insert the hook into the top 2 loops of the next stitch. And it is a little tight getting into this one because remember we put a half double crochet into the beginning chain 3 stitch, so it is a little tight. You can always go down to a smaller hook size to get it in there if you need to. Pull that loop through the stitch. Chain 1, pull up on the loop and then remove the hook. Insert your hook into the chain 2 space from front to back. Put the loop back on the hook and tighten it up. Pull it through the chain 2 space. And now we need to do one more chain to complete the chain 2 space. We complete the corner of the working square by doing 2 more double crochets into the chain 2 space, and then you'll just complete the round as you normally would. I'm at the chain 2 corner space, so 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into the same chain 2 space. We started the round with 2 double crochets to form the second part of our corner, so now we do the first 2 double crochets of that corner into the chain 2 space, and we'll use a half double crochet into the top of the beginning chain 3 to join the round. Here's a closer look at our join. It gives you a nice twisted cord look. Kind of reminds me of a striped North Pole sign. It is completely flat on the back and it is slightly raised on the front. Cut your yarn and pull it through the last loop on the hook and go ahead and sew in your ends. Continue joining your squares using the same techniques that we just did and attach your squares from right to left until you reach the width that you want. To attach the first square of all remaining rows, you want to turn your work upside down. Work your next square, but only complete the first side of the last round. I'm at the chain 2 corner space, so I chain 1, pull up on the loop, and we join it to the chain 2 space of the square that's diagonal below it. Remember, I turned my work upside down, so it looks like it's above it here, but it's actually the row below that I'm attaching it to. So insert your hook into the chain 2 space, put the loop back on your hook and tighten it up, and pull it through the chain 2 space. Pull up on that loop just to give yourself a little extra room because we're working diagonally. Work your second chain, and we go back to complete the corner space by doing a double crochet into the working square. Pull up on the loop, and we join it to the coordinating stitch of the square that's directly below it. So find that first stitch, insert your hook in the top 2 loops, front to back, put the loop back on your hook and tighten it up, and pull it through the stitch. You're going to complete the corner and work the side just as you normally would. I'm at my corner space, so I double crochet into the working square, pull up on the loop, and make sure I'm joining it to the coordinating stitch of the square below. I do that one more time, chain 1, insert the hook into the chain 2 space of the square below, put the loop back on the hook and pull it through, chain 1, and put 2 double crochets into the chain 2 space of the working square to complete the corner. Here's a closer look at the corner we just completed, and this is the first corner that we joined to. Complete the round as you normally would. You'll follow these steps to join additional squares to the end of the row. Again, you're going to work your new square, but only complete the first side of the last round. This time we'll be joining on 2 sides of the working square. Turn your work upside down. We'll start by joining our working square to the chain 2 space of the square diagonally below it. I've completed the 2 double crochets in my corner space, so I chain 1, pull up on the loop, insert your hook into the chain 2 space of the diagonal square below it, Put the loop back on the hook and pull it tight and pull it through the chain 2 space. And just make sure that you pull up on that loop a little bit to give yourself a little extra room. Chain 1. We'll finish the corner by doing a double crochet into the chain 2 space of our working square. Pull up on the loop, and we're going to attach it to the first stitch of the square directly below it. Put the loop on the hook and pull it through the stitch. Complete the corner by doing one more double crochet in that chain 2 space. Pull up on the loop, remove your hook, find the coordinating stitch of the square directly below it, insert your hook, put the loop back on the hook and tighten it, and pull it through the stitch. Join the remaining stitches of this side until you reach the corner space. I'm at the corner space, so I want to double crochet into the chain 2 space of my working square. Pull up on the loop and remove the hook. Find the coordinating stitch of the square below and pull that loop through. I do that one more time. Chain 1, pull up on the loop, and remove your hook. We join it to the chain 2 corner space of the square diagonally below it. Pull that loop through the chain 2 space. Chain 1. We complete our corner space by doing a double crochet, and we join it to the coordinating stitch of the square that we just attached. Complete the remaining stitches as you normally would. I'm at the next corner space, so I double crochet in the chain 2 space of my working square. Pull up on the loop and remove the hook. Insert my hook into the coordinating stitch of the previous square. Put the loop on my hook and pull it through the stitch, and I'll do that one more time. To finish our corner, we're going to chain 1, remove the hook, insert the hook in the chain 2 space, put the loop back on the hook and pull it through. Chain 1. Complete the corner and remaining stitches of the working square as you normally would. Repeat the steps of this section until all of your squares are joined. Let's take a closer look at my kitty blanket. In the last video of this series, I'm going to show you how to do a very simple beginner-friendly border that looks really nice and ties this all together, and you won't notice any imperfections along the edges. You could wet or steam black the squares individually or after they're joined together if you like. Keep an eye out for that last video to come out later this week. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you don't miss out on future videos.